Warning, the following program contains extreme coarse language and mature subject matter. Viewer discretion is extremely advised. Good evening. It is Talking Truth Thursday. I'm ADC, and there's probably going to be some profanity, so that's why we have the not safe for work messaging. There is profanity because in some of the clips, we have people that just go off swearing like sailors. So, hey, we'll leave it at that. So, welcome everyone to Talking Truth. We are talking truth about Rage Against the War Machine. Not the band. So we're not talking about the exploitation of the band. We're talking about a certain event planned for this weekend in Washington, D.C. And some of the difficulties in describing our feelings towards it, I guess, would be the best way to do it. A lot of stress has happened from multiple things, a lot of gaslighting, a lot of crap like that. But we're not going to gaslight each other. We're not going to gaslight you. Join the conversation on our YouTube channel, if you like and subscribe us, you will get the notification that we are live and you can enjoy Talking Truth. Well, like I said, we're going to jump right in here. Let me introduce tonight's guest panelists. So where we go this way? Yeah, one way. Anyway, Renee Johnston is our guest panelist. Renee has been a amazing advocate for independent media, for people of the global majority, and has voiced her displeasure in regards to the this event and the what's the actual purpose of this event. And the other guest joining us is the Latina Diva, better known as Sabrina, and Sabrina is joining us from Buffalo, New York. It's not snowing there, Sabrina? Nope. Awesome.
No, we actually had a warm day, so that was weird, good. But nice. No blizzards.
No blizzards. That's fantastic. You don't have to worry about shoveling it in. Yeah. Renee, you're in this
New Jersey.
New Jersey. Okay, so no blizzards there either?
No. It was actually really warm today.
Someone was posting that they were stuck in the snow, and I don't remember where it was. Somewhere on the East Coast, but I don't. Probably Minnesota or somewhere like that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So we will start it off. Like I tell people, I'm going to ramble. I'm going to swear. It's just what happens. But we have uncomfortable conversations about uncomfortable topics in a comfortable environment. So that's why I'm wearing a hoodie. That's why I've got a backdrop of Hockey Night in Canada. That's why I don't tell people we don't need to wear business casual or whatever. This is how we are. We're presenting ourselves. We're not trying to present ourselves as where we've got some $1 million backdrop or some bullshit that we're actually broadcasting from somewhere where we're not. We're in some basement, but we're live, and we'll stop rambling here. We're going to start off with the one of the things that Renee posted on Twitter on February 8th, and so far it's gotten 66 retweets, 23 quote tweets, and 207 likes. And for Renee, who is not about clout or going viral, that's a pretty viral tweet.
And that is news to me.
Let me just share the screen here, and Renee's going to be like, holy crap, just that one tweet has got me, going to get me in trouble. So yeah, so there we go. So Rage Against the War Machine, or Rage Against the War, is a registered non-stock VA corporation. Fully explains why there's so many pro-Russia, pro-war voices. Rally isn't an effort to stop war. It's to gather the popular voices in order to make the most money. The grift is real. And, let's show that on the screen. There we go. So make it, close that. Gotta love. There, let's go there. See, when you're live, it all works fantastically, right? Yeah. So anyway, so Renee, you got a lot of response on that one tweet. What I guess first question: when did you find out about their corporation status, and what does that mean in regards of a event?
So I actually got a screenshot the night before, and the next morning I kind of tracked down the information to make sure, you know, people can send you stuff and say it's real, but you should always verify that what they sent is real. And the real issue for me was this is supposed to be an anti-war rally, so it seems strange to me that they created an entire corporation and organization just to do this war rally. And then they filed for their nonprofit status. And when you put all of that together with, somebody like Nick, who has been running a third party supposedly for almost 6 years and hasn't actually gotten anything done, but is fundraising via that source, you have to question, where is the money going? So, they posted some weird receipt and what was supposedly from the soundstage people for like $30-something thousand. That was for 5 days, and none of the information really makes a whole lot of sense. But what I was trying to really point out to people is you don't need to do all of this to have a rally, right? You don't need to start a corporation. You don't need to file for a 501c4. And let's be clear, a C4, not a C3, so not a true nonprofit, but a nonprofit that can fund political parties. Like, why all of that to do a rally that's supposed to really just call attention to the fact that people don't want the US to be sending money to the Ukraine, which is not an unreasonable request in my opinion. I've commented on it. I'm not a big fan of sending billions of dollars out of the country when there are people who are sleeping on the streets, who can't eat, who can't get medical care, who are going bankrupt because of whatever illness they have, who can't get a job. Like, there's so many things going on here that I don't understand why we're funding war somewhere else either. But in my opinion, this is not the way to stop it. And I don't see how raising money under the guise of a 501c4 that you created just to have this rally. The whole thing to me is just very grifty. You don't need to do it. And they set their initial fundraising at, I think it was $45,000, which to me seemed a little extreme. And once they got to the $45,000, they raised it to $68,000. So what's going to happen if they get to $68,000 before Sunday? They're going to raise it to $75,000. Like, what are you raising this much money to do if the goal is just to bring eyes and ears to the fact that there are numerous people in this country who don't want the government to be sending money overseas to fund war?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so we'll one of the articles there is Rage Against the War Machine Rally Promotes Alliance Between the Left and the Extreme Right. And this was Joseph Kishore who wrote this article 21 hours ago. So saying that it was February 24th, mark 1 year since the beginning of the war in the Ukraine. Weeks leading up to the anniversary, U.S. and European powers have been relentlessly escalating the conflict, including sending of battle tanks and plans to send fighter jets to Ukraine to prosecute what is now clearly a war of NATO against Russia. Behind the scenes, the Biden administration, the governments of Europe are discussing plans for the deployment of troops. The risk that the logic of escalation will lead to an exchange of nuclear weapons is extreme. So we've got this whole aspect that go into the socialism and the fight against war and what truly is the aspect of that and what we've done in the past. So going down, the demonstration held in Washington, D.C. on February 19th under the headline Rage Against the War Machine is opposed to a socialist and genuinely anti-war perspective. Based on the most short-sighted, pragmatic, and opportunistic calculations, this event promotes an alliance and collaboration with the political right and even openly fascist forces. Primary organizers of the rally are the Libertarian Party, led by Angela McArdle, and the People's Party, led by Nick Brana. So, you guys, we talked off camera about Nick Brana, and Sabrina,
Yeah.
you have had direct workings with Nick Brana.
Yes.
And
Yes.
does this sort of behavior, is this a shock to you that he's doing such
No,
things?
it's not actually. And what I think is interesting is that I don't think people realize that not only is Nick Brana a grifter, he's also a really bad businessman. When working at, I worked as the communications director for People's Party. Thankfully, only for a handful of months. I didn't get to waste a lot of my life with that. However, I went to a few of the financial meetings, financial community meetings. I was not on the financial committee. There was zero oversight. Thousands of dollars went missing. Nick Brana works very closely with his daddy, Rodrigo Brana, who manages the money for People's Party. And I would attest that Rod doesn't know how to do basic budgeting. I've managed a 6-figure budget before. And to, get really angry that the budget isn't balanced after you and your son just blew, I think it was $30,000 to buy a bunch of domains that they still aren't using. There's a missing logo, which I think, Renee, you were around for that whole thing, that there was a logo that I believe $10,000 was given to Nick's buddy. They still have the same logo. Their website's still a wreck. When I tried to go into it today, it was going to directories instead of the actual website, which was something we spent hundreds of man hours on a marketing campaign for the new logo and everything. All that money went to waste because we were being paid salaries for that. So I'm just saying that that $65,000 is not going to war, to stop a war. I'm not really sure where it's going, but it'll probably go the same place all the People's Party money goes. So
and I'll just make the note that I was curious.
Yeah.
So I just checked, and they've now raised over $76,000, and they must have seen people talking about raising the limit, so they haven't changed the raising goal from $68,000. But if you're already over 70,000, why are you still collecting money?
Yeah. And you have to raise it manually, because there's a whole discussion on Twitter about that particular website. It's not like the company does it or it's done automatically. You have to actually manually go in there and say, oh, we already made 45,000. Can we get another 30?
Right. My guess is they've seen those conversations, so they're not going to go in and raise it anymore. But at the same time, if you've hit your goal and you're not raising your goal anymore, why have you not shut off your fundraising site? Why is it still going if you've met your goal? Why are we still raising money? Why are we still asking people to give non-tax deductible donations to your corporation that you created just so you can put this rally on? I don't understand what's going on.
But you can get your pro-Russia t-shirts.
Yes, you can get your pro-Russia t-shirts. That is exactly it. And that I'm just going to share the screen here.
Yes, please do.
This is, so I've been following this since Renee's post. I'm like, okay, I was very curious about what the hell is going on here. And especially when they're like, oh, you can get your merchandise. And because I do merchandise myself through my company, Baller Gear, I'm very familiar with the concept of exploitation and how to avoid exploitation and to ensure that your merchandise is ethically produced and not exploiting labor or those sorts of aspects. So when it popped up that this company was going to be the supplier, and this huge company, Theo and Sons, was going to supply, get your gear at Theo and Sons. And I'm going, what the hell is Theo and Sons? I've never heard Theo and Sons. I mean, I'm Canadian, so that I thought, well, maybe that's just me. But further on, we go into the custom merchandise. They're in Pennsylvania. We've got your Rage Against the War gear. Shipping's not guaranteed to deliver before the Rage Against the War event, so that's great. You can spend your money, get this gear that's not going to be good for the event. They're not going to be, according to this, it's only available online, so it doesn't look like they're going to have any merchandise available at the event, which makes no sense if you're going to have thousands of people supposedly attending this event, wouldn't it make the most sense to have actual stock of merchandise for the people that are in attendance, so you can further brand yourself and ensure that people are supporting it and make more money? But anyway, we already discussed the fact that they are not the smartest business people. So there you go. You can get your hoodies, you can get your sweatshirts, you can get all these different things. So I'll just click on one of the items here, and let's go with the Rage T-shirt. So you choose your option. You can choose to have your coalition logos. So all the sponsor logos that are on the bottom of the logo, or bottom of the actual event logo, can be included on there for an extra $3. $25 for the t-shirt, and then you add $3 for the logos. Okay, so 100% ring spun USA. It's a Toltec tee. It's USMCA certified. That's great. Here's all the small logos that you can't read. Make a bold statement. Oh, you can bulk order this stuff. And you can also like their hoodies and stuff. But let's go related products. And nope, this one's actually not too bad. When you go into the related products on some of them, you actually come up with, and let me just go to the actual collection. So this what made no sense to me. So if we're doing a anti-war event, why in the French fried titty fuck would we have military gear available to wear? I just don't understand this. So this is where I'm going, okay, clearly these people are grifters. Clearly that is the case. And I actually, after seeing this, I posted there's I'm not gonna post my own stuff, but I'll just say went onto their Facebook page, and it's basically the brother and sister and mom and dad. Like, okay, fine, it's a family operation. Don't tell me you guys are this major corporation, whatever. And the first picture I see is them doing selfies with the local police. So how the hell are you anti-war when you're pro-military and pro-police? Rant over on that one. So yeah, that's where the grift.
And that was a question that I asked. I didn't even realize that you could do all of that from the rally website. I went and tracked down what the organization, what the shop's website was to see.
Yeah.
And, I came across the whole back the blue stuff. Yeah. And I was like, that's odd.
This is very, very odd.
We're doing anti-war, but we're also pro-police. And so my question was, name me one actual anti-war organization that is also pro-police. And I was like, yeah, I'll wait for that answer. And what's funny is people come back with, you just want to hurt the rally. And I'm like, no, I just want people to know where they're going.
Right.
You can go, you can't. I'm not going to stop it. There's nothing that I'm going to say or do. I ain't going down there, so I have nothing to do with it. But to me, it is a real miscarriage of your actual reasonableness and what you are owed to the public, right? If I know something and I don't give that information so other people who might not be aware can become aware of that information, I feel as if I bear some responsibility for not saying something. My fear at this point is you're going to have legitimate marginalized voices who are truly anti-war, who are going to go down there because of what this rally is called. And there's potential for harm. And if we're organizing in the sense of, we're going to bring all these voices together because we want everybody to be heard, because we have this shared, sincere concern for this issue, I don't have a problem with that. I have no issue with talking to people and having those initial conversations, but don't tell me I'm required to put myself in some level of harm, right? To open myself up to opportunity for harm because these people don't care about my humanity, and that, I don't feel like it would be right for me to sit quietly knowing that that's the situation, and knowing that there are a lot of people who aren't paying attention. And like, I'm a small account. Like, I don't have like thousands and thousands of followers or anything like that. But if even one person sees it and they're like, oof, maybe maybe I shouldn't go down there. Or maybe I'll go, but I'll just watch from the outside and kind of be mindful of who I'm surrounded by and all those things. Then it's worth me being the person who gets called the CIA op on Twitter because I had the audacity to like say, maybe you should pay attention when you go down to this thing, because there are going to be a lot of voices down there that really don't care about the humanity of other people, whether they want to admit that or not. Whether it happens or not, people should be aware that that's a possibility.
Well, and one of those voices that was recently, like I said, we're not going to promote the speakers. There's enough. You can go to their website and find out who's speaking there. But one of those things, and thank you, Sabrina, for sharing. The site went to the site, and the site said go to the YouTube page to view the video. Well, the YouTube page has been suspended. No question about it. When you see this video, you will see why this YouTube channel was suspended. So I'm just going to show it on the stream here. And warning, this will trigger you. Honestly, I watched it, and yeah, I'll let you make the decision, but it's awful.
Hey guys, Jason Van Taten with Oath Keepers here with Jordan Page. We're here at the Page household with having our family Thanksgiving. We thought we'd take the time to extend our wishes to you and your family on this holiday. We hope you're having a great Thanksgiving as well. Jordan, you've got a new song coming out today.
Today, a worldwide release of Arm Yourselves in Act 3. It's a powerful Second Amendment anthem that Oath Keepers is an organization that I'm very involved with, and so is Jason. And it's a song that speaks to a lot of the mission of Oath Keepers, and the mission of the song is to educate the public about what's really going on in the country and around the world, and that it's time that we arm ourselves spiritually and with force of arms, and as well as with the truth. And with all three of those things, we will be successful in fighting the enemies that we face. So it drops today. It's on cdbaby.com. It's on iTunes. It's on Google Play Store, Amazon. Anywhere that you download music, you can get it.
And guys, this song is incredible. I've been talking with Jordan through the whole production process, and it's really coming together. It's going to be an anthem for us here in the Liberty Movement. It's 99 cents. It goes to support Jordan and his family, and just the cause of liberty is going to help support Oath Keepers as well. So please take the time. It's 99 cents to download. It's $2 for both songs, guys. Sure. That's nothing. Take the time. You're sitting there with your families. You've just eaten all that turkey, and you got some downtime during the holidays. Take the time and download it. Play it for your family.
So just Google Jordan Page, Arm Yourselves, or you can go to jordanpagemusic.com, and there'll be links there to get it. I want to send a shout out to sponsors that contributed to the Arm Yourselves campaign. First and foremost is Oath Keepers. The Oath Keepers membership helped me raise a lot of money to get both songs recorded. Come and Take It Armor was an early financial sponsor. We give them a lot of love, a lot of shout out. I also want to thank Tactical Supply out of Yakima, Washington, High-End Rifle Company, and Roberts & Roberts Precious Metals Brokerage in Pensacola, Florida. They've all come on as financial sponsors to help produce the music video that's forthcoming. That's going to be in participation with Oath Keepers and starring some members of Oath Keepers as well. It's going to be a hard-hitting short film with both songs put together. And I want to give a big thanks to my buddy Stuart Rhodes for helping me get things rolling on this project. And yeah, I think it's time to sing. What do you think?
Yeah, let's get the family. We're gonna have our family come on down.
Yeah. We got the Von Pages over here. Everybody sit. You guys ready?
Yes.
1, 2, 3. And arm yourself when the hammer's crashing down. Happy Thanksgiving from all of us here in the Great American Readout.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
God.
Thanksgiving indeed. So, number one, you're supporting a
Oh,
colonialist holiday. So, of course, we're going to celebrate Thanksgiving by talking about our children arming themselves. And
you know, it reminds me a lot, and I mentioned this off camera. I grew up, and a lot of people don't know this, all the ones especially who keep calling me a CIA operative. I grew up ultra Christian, conservative, Republican, like Christian coalition, like the crap that MAGA's spitting out now. I grew up hearing in my house and in my church, stuff that I won't repeat just because just by me repeating what I heard as a child is so racist that I feel like I'm causing more harm by sharing what they told us growing up. And seeing those kids, I actually want to just cry, because that reminds me, when you're a kid, and I kept thinking that one song, Onward Christian Soldiers Marching as to War with the Cross of Jesus going on before. There's a very militaristic Christian nationalism that is deep, deep, deep within the right-wing movement that a lot of times I feel like what I call the Twitter lefties that kind of only seem to resolve on Twitter but don't do things in real life don't seem to understand that it's not just, oh, they said a word I don't like, or this is a person that doesn't agree with me, get over it. Like, there is real harm, there's real violence, there's genocide, there's lynching, there is the KKK, there is a huge segment of the population, and it's not massive, it's about 10% of our population, but that's massive in consideration, that they are so vocal and given so much attention. And mainstream media isn't helpful either, where they kind of make these voices end up everywhere, right? But that just makes me want to cry, because I see those children, and to me, I feel like, it's not quite religious abuse, because I'm not sure what their religious background is, but that's indoctrination at a young age. Those kids
it's
don't know
grooming.
what they're saying. They're
Like,
grooming.
we talk about grooming of
And I want to
children
cry
in
for those
the
kids.
US community. That's grooming. That is 100% grooming. That little boy who's sitting there, who can barely, probably doesn't know a lot of words, knows arm myself at 3. Like, those are the first words the kid's going to learn. And it's not, this isn't about, I don't believe in guns. Like, if you are an indigenous, from the indigenous peoples, and you hunt for game, part of your culture, absolutely, you have the right to have the ability to hunt. But carrying an AK-47 or any sort of assault rifle, you're not hunting anything. There's no reason for assault rifles. There's no reason for any sort of automatic weapon that can take out any sort of major animal, because you destroy, like, as a hunter, you're destroying the body if you use any of these god-awful weapons that these people that are arming themselves with. It's not for hunting. Or if it is for hunting, it's for hunting
People.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, I was going to say, when I was doing some research on Mr. Jordan Page, I came across an email that was sent out regarding this song, and it's from the Oath Keepers, and it says, "Arm yourselves as a call to action for every free American to stand up for the constitutionally protected right to bear arms." And one of his most powerful songs to date, Jordan Page warns us all the hammer is crashing down, and that now is a time to show solidarity, that we the people will not be disarmed by any government or authority. The song paints a striking picture of a possible future scenario where the free people of America clash with the force of totalitarian government. And if you think about January 6th, if you think about, I'm in Buffalo, we just in May had a Nazi that only lives 2 hours away, not just kill Black people, he hunted them. He literally hunted them. He went online, he used the internet to find out where he could attack, what district had the most Black people, which place to go. He was going to actually do an elementary school first, but couldn't get through the security. He found that they were too secure. He chose a Tops. He did the research on his, he did the research to find out what day of the week that particular Tops in a Black city was the busiest, and showed up and slaughtered people. And not only that, when he shot some of the black people that he shot, he went back around, and if they weren't dead, he put a bullet in their face. And that is what I'm talking about. Being okay with that. Okay?
Right, because
that is
part
what
of-
I'm talking. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Go ahead.
Part of the issue is not just that you have people with these really extreme
Mhm.
ideas and notions about who should be here and who,
Right.
you know, who's a true American, which I love to remind people that there's no such thing as America. Like, you can't be a citizen of America. So can we go back to geography school, please? But also there is it's almost like a pretending that these people aren't doing harm, right? So it's not really, you know, of course, it's that small percentage of people who are perpetuating this behavior, who are actual bigots, who are actual racists, who are actually, you know, seeking to do harm. But there's another huge part of the population who is just letting them do it, right? Like, they're not calling them on it. They're not stopping it. They're not questioning. They're not saying, hey, what's going on with you? And then when I have the audacity as a Black person to say, well, I don't want to be around those people. Like, I don't want to deal with that. I'm the divisive one, right? Like, I'm the problem for pointing out the racism, for pointing out the bigotry, for pointing out whatever it is in that moment that I'm trying to get people to look at. And, you know, I'm told, well, you're just being divisive, and people don't understand. Like, it's not divisive to want to protect myself, right? Like, if you don't want there to be division, then how about you go after the people that are perpetuating these false notions of, you know, what people are? Because I'm literally not the problem, because God knows if I could get rid of racism, I most certainly would, because it would certainly make my life a little bit easier.
100%. And you mentioned the fact that the danger is the people that allow it. It's not necessarily people that are doing the behaviors. But let's
What
go
do you want
back.
to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name.
supremacists and
Who would
right
you like me to condemn?
white supremacists and right
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left-wing. This is a left-wing problem. What do you want to call them? Give me.
It's a left-wing problem. So in that, not only, I mean, Proud Boys, that jumps out right away. And the fact that if anyone wanted to know, that was actually the presidential debate. I think it was the second one. And yeah, he was asked by the moderator to actually address the white supremacy that he's been igniting in his rallies. And I'll say he is in 45. I don't usually mention the word or whatever because it's just god awful. And 46 is not much better. So it's the whole thing of you're talking, and this is where we're going, well, we just have a disagreement. Oh, you're not disagreeing. When you've got someone saying stand by and stand down because January 6th is coming. Like, we're going to tell you that we need you, and we'll tell you when. Wait for the call. And I'm not going to play any of the January 6th because that's just as triggering or whatever. But there was the recent article in the paper. It was, I think, USA Today. And it was the evidence, and this is where the scariness comes in, that a DC police lieutenant warned Proud Boys leader ahead of the pre-January 6th arrest in evidence. So we're okay. You're just worried about a disagreement. You're worried about a political stance. Oh, you're a Democrat. You're a CIA agent. You're an op. You're whatever, because you're worried about person that's supposed to have a voice. Well, when we're sitting here going, January 6th was the worst thing that happened in the United States in our lifetime. in regards of supposed democracy and an attack on democracy. I've said it even before January 6th that democracy was attacked long ago. Democracy is a hypocrisy, but that's a different topic for a different conversation. We'll keep it on topic this one. So there's text messages with Proud Boys chairman Enrique Tarrio, who's rallying in Portland, Oregon, and his arrest prior to the January 6th assault. There's ties between him and the police, which when we're talking about military and we're talking about a police state, there's direct, it's not infiltration like Black Klansman, as much as that was a enjoyable movie, and I loved watching the white supremacist woman get the shit kicked out of her at the end, and the other guy get the please watch it if you haven't seen it. It's fantastically done. It's a Spike Lee joint. Anyway, the whole purpose was I watched that based on this is real. This isn't just fucking 1960. This isn't 1970. This is what's happening in 2022, 2023, where you've got members of the KKK not as open as they were then, but members of the Proud Boys, members of the Boogaloo Boys, members of the we just talked about all these different
Oath keepers.
Thank you. Radical groups that are domestic terrorists. Like when we're talking about terrorism, what do we always talk about? We talk about the brown population, and it's the Muslim population that causes the terrorism. Fuck that. It is the white, right-wing, religious fighting fuckwaffles that are starting this shit, that are domestic terrorists. But they're domestic terrorists that are being enabled by our government, by our police forces, by our, what will we say, our messiahs, our
white saviors.
Our white saviors. Like I really want to play Tina Turner's "We Don't Need Another Hero" right now, but that will get us pulled.
Yeah.
But that song speaks everything. Number one, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. That is what we're heading for. Like we're heading for. Like everyone's like, oh, I watched this movie. I watched this show, Last of Us. All these based on a video game. Fuck, that's based on society. We are living in Hunger Games. We are living in Handmaid's Tale. We're living in these horrible circumstances where the rich continue to start wars, where the poor die. Like it's the rich aren't dying in the wars. Like General 5-star fuckwad is not dying in the war. It's the poor bastard that's trying to get an education that was sold a bill of goods on. I don't need to get a student loan if I'm a part of the military to get my education. And then I'm sent to some god-awful area. And it's not a god-awful area because of the people that are there. It's a god-awful area because our imperialist system has made it god-awful. And
have you watched the well, not watched because it's a podcast, but the new podcast Alphabet Voice?
No.
Okay, so you got to track that down, and whoever ends up listening to this, please forgive me because I do not remember the name of the person who is behind this series, but they are revealing how the FBI infiltrated the 2020 marches. Because don't forget, at the time, this had become the FBI focus. The FBI focus was what they called, like, I think it was like black, I don't even remember what the FBI called them, but it was basically like, the black people were going to be the terrorists. So we got to make sure that we're watching all of them. And then it was it was maybe days after they made this announcement that they were really going to be watching, for these black militant, people who were going to come and blow up the country, that Charlottesville happened. And so then people started to question, it's very odd that you all are so focused on the black people, and it's clearly the white people that are doing the damage. And so then they backed off, and then they just called it like, you know, racist, like they bunched everybody together, right? It stopped being about white nationalists and white supremacy, and it started to become about everybody who was doing anything with regard to racism. But it's I think the third episode just released. I just started listening to it, and I'm fairly certain the third one just released because I feel like I've listened to 3 episodes. But it's very interesting listening to the dynamic of, you know, what the FBI did and what they decided that they were going to focus on. And when you really consider the amount of law enforcement agents who are in cahoots with these white nationalists and these racists and these bigots, it's no surprise that they're going to just keep focusing on trying to pull Black people out of, you know, organizing spaces and out of, you know, stopping their ability to gather and to have the ability to have free speech and, you know, to do all the things that you're supposed to be able to do. You know, the goal is to criminalize that, right? They don't want Black people to have a voice. They don't want us to start speaking out. They don't want us to be able to gather and really have some sense of how can we make some legitimate change, because the real way to make legitimate change, if we're really looking at working people coming together and doing something, is through the economy. That's the way to do it. And people have got to stop being part of this capitalist system. And listen, this is coming from someone who's part of the capitalist system. I'm not going to pretend that I don't shop and I don't, you know, do all the things, but at the same time, like, I don't buy anything on Amazon, right? Like, I'm adamant about not doing certain things. I don't go to Chick-fil-A. I don't shop in certain places because I just simply don't want to give my money to people who will turn around and give my money to the Republican Party or to the Democrats or to the Libertarians and to anybody else who's going to turn around and decide that my humanity is not worth saving and that my life doesn't matter. So, you know, it has to be a point where people start paying attention to all of these real problems that are being created because they don't want people who right now don't have a voice to find their voice.
100%. And we're going to, I got 2 or 3 clips from, I guess it said, very hard to watch this program, and I have no use for this individual, but this individual had the Messiah, Jimmy Dore, on, and that is one of the things that we're struggling. I mean, I will say it right now, Jimmy Dore is like Jim Jones, and his followers are a cult, and they will attack you based on you calling him out on because he's the everyman and he's standing up for the everyman. Well, we got 3 clips here that he's just showing his cards. He's showing who he is. And I know when I was with PVN, they wouldn't let me do this one. Was one of the discussions of why we parted ways, because I just couldn't support what this guy does.
That is a wave of energy, and the crest of it is what we see.
So why didn't you take the wave of energy to run for president? There was a wave of energy behind you, Jimmy. Everyone wants you to run for president. Look at all the Door 24s in the chat. Everyone wants you to run for president. This is well, you know, everyone has their own decisions, but maybe not this year, maybe 4 years from now.
It's you know, I've just been it takes an emotional resiliency to do that and do it right, I think. And I'm not sure if I have it right now, right? I feel like I still haven't gotten a real vacation, so I'm taking off 2 weeks starting on Monday again. But the whole first week is filled with work, so I'm going to do the Tim Pool's podcast.
Oh, that'll be good.
I'm flying to DC to do that, and then the next day I fly to Miami to do the Pat David Bet or whatever show that is. Yeah, and then I fly back and do a stand-up show on Saturday in Washington, D.C., and then Sunday I have the rally. Then I fly home on Monday.
Yes, this rally right here that everyone should be already aware of, Rage Against the War Machine. You can go to rageagainstwar.com to check it out. February 19th, Lincoln Memorial. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, what do you think?
Jackson, I don't know if you know, but there's people that are speaking at that I don't agree with politically. And so,
Is
I mean,
that
I'd
so?
like to stop a nuclear war, but not with those people.
Yeah, that I saw today people are posting that it's anti-black. It's Ron Paul is like he's a white supremacist or something like that, so they don't want to be with him. It's crazy. And then of course me, I've talked about that on my
But
stream.
you're okay with sending money to Nazis in Ukraine?
What is that though? What do you
So
really
that's-
what do you think is
that's-
behind that? Like Medea Benjamin?
What do I think is behind that?
Yeah, like what do you think is behind Veterans for Peace? You know, they sent those emails about me. What do you think?
I think most organizations that are considered even mildly left have been infiltrated by the FBI and people like that, and they do divide and conquer. That's not a secret that they do that. That's of course what they do. And so and they put up organizations like the DSA. Either they were created by the CIA and the FBI, or they've been completely co-opted by them. Mm-hmm. And so that's what's happening. It doesn't, well, if you want to stop a nuclear war, it doesn't matter what somebody's opinion of Social Security is. It doesn't matter if somebody wants to take healthcare away from old people. None of that matters if we're dead in a nuclear war. And so that's what gives it its power, when you can come together with people who are completely ideologically opposed to you. That's what gives the anti-war rally strength. Not that we all agree on shit. You only have to agree on one thing, that we want to stop the war. If a right-wing Baptist minister who wanted to was against gay marriage and but he was for stopping the war, welcome. Donald Trump, if you're for stopping the war, welcome. I don't care. Newt Gingrich, if you're for stopping the war, you're welcome. Matt Gaetz, if he just put in legislation to stop the war funding for Ukraine. We're not supposed to do that because Matt Gaetz introduced it? Of course we're supposed to do it. Doesn't matter. Politics is like making a sausage. You don't want to see what goes into it. All that matters is the outcome. So that's how politics works. And if we can stop this nuclear war, then we'll have the luxury of fighting about other things. But until we stop these wars, we don't have the luxury to fight about other things. That's the way I look at it. And if you want, and again, if you have a problem with this anti-war rally, why don't you go start your own fucking anti-war rally? Oh, that's right, because you're not really anti-war. You're fucking cosplaying bullshitters, and this anti-war rally exposed those people. They're all cosplaying. You know, Frederick Douglass said, "I'll unite with anyone to do good, but with no one to do bad." That's what Frederick Douglass said, and that's what I say.
Okay,
Yeah,
I have one comment. He is right about sausage, because there's a heck of a lot of white privilege sausage in this particular rally.
absolutely.
It's, I mean, and they really do like pedophiles. They mentioned Matt Gaetz. I don't know. Maybe it's like a thing. Like, you know, I don't know. And I think that it's hilarious. I don't know, Renee, have you been recruited by the CIA lately? I guess they're taking middle-aged moms now. Like,
I just, can I just
like,
say,
I don't get it.
It's so, the whole thing is just so absurd, right?
It really is.
Like, that he is like the voice that everybody thinks is so reasonable, and he doesn't even know what he's talking about. Like, yeah. I'm about to get myself in so much trouble, but listen, like in the end, right? This whole thing was billed as we are stopping all wars, right? And then every time they added somebody who wasn't really talking about stopping all wars, they started shifting a little bit. Oh, well, now we're just talking about this war. Well, now we're talking about nuclear war. Well, now, like all these things. Like, one, there's no rally that anyone is going to put together anywhere in this country that's going to stop the US government from doing whatever they want to do. That's always been the problem. The government is not listening to people. So you can do the rally. There's one coming in March that seems to be put together by, a different group of people that, I'm still watching to make sure that I don't get aggravated, like when all is said and done. But, even that, it's not going to stop what's happening. The only thing that's going to stop what's happening is working people saying we're not going to pay money to anything. Mm-hmm. And then these corporations that are funding the government in order for them to send money to all these places, that's what's going to stop it, right? That's the only thing that's going to stop it. But for right now, this this idea that like, oh, you're so silly. Like, we're trying to stop war and you're worrying about yourself. Like, one, you're not going to stop a war. And two, you think if you stop the war, all these people that you're organizing with aren't going to turn around and come after me, and you want me to just stand there and wait for it to happen? Like, come on, man, stop. And can I just tell you, like, just a note, I am so sick to death of white people like using quotes of black people to like try and defend their nonsense. Like, literally read a book. Read a book. That's it. Just read a book so that you can
read a different book than what you're reading.
Because Frederick Douglass said that, because it wasn't because Frederick Douglass was going to work with the slave masters, right? He wasn't going in to work on the plantation to help the slave masters keep their slaves, right? That was literally an argument between abolitionists about which type of abolitionist was the right type of abolitionist, right? So they were all abolitionists. So this idea that like, you know, well, Frederick Douglass was willing to work with the wrong people. Hey, dummy, Frederick Douglass is not working with the slave catchers. Get that straight. Like, that's what we're talking. That's the differential that we're talking about right now. And it's all the time. Like, he misrepresents Fred Hampton and what the Rainbow Coalition is. Like, it's always this constant, like, just slight retelling and whitewashing of these historical voices that were part of true revolutionary Black movements, and telling these lies to try and convince people that Black people, like dummies, were sitting around and talking and hanging out with racists, and we were just worried about the real problems. Like, none of that happened. Like, it just didn't happen. It's just absolute nonsense, and I'm so sick to death of it.
Yeah, I know.
All that personally, I didn't feel personally attacked with the emails and the withdrawals of endorsements, because I was like, I don't think this is about me. I think it's more about, you know, them trying to find something so they can try to implode the whole movement, you know, because this really is the largest anti-war event.
It wasn't you, it would be somebody else. If it wasn't somebody else, it would be me.
They could easily do, oh, he's anti-vax, we can't show up because he's anti, you know, but this is like the largest anti-war event that I've seen since I've been involved in politics, which is not that long, but I mean, like, it's the large. So you're telling me that the top anti-war groups are not going to participate because of feminism and like social, you know, issues that have nothing to do with World War III and nuclear fallout. It's insane. It's insane. And yeah, I don't know.
No, it's the old I want to stop a nuclear war, but not with that guy. It's just crazy. It's the opposite of organizing. And you know, I talk about this with Christian Smalls, how, you know, the biggest lefty action that has happened in the last decade was Christian Smalls organizing workers in a union against Amazon, right? That was a big deal. Where did he do it? He did it on Staten Island. Who lives on Staten Island? A bunch of white working class Trump voters that the Democratic Party would say is a basket of deplorables, your enemy. They're white racist, white supremacists, fascists, right? That's what they would say of those people. Well, Christian Smalls would call them workers, and they're in the same class. And so when you hear Democrats say that we have to organize along class lines, that means organizing with Trumpers. So they don't really mean it. Just like people who claim to be anti-war won't show up to a fucking anti-war rally because they don't agree with the politics of the people speaking against war. That just shows you to be a fucking phony and a cosplayer. And that's why those people never accomplish fucking anything. And that's why there is no anti-war movement in America, because of bullshit like that. And so you see these organizations who aren't going to participate. That's because they've been infiltrated and co-opted, and they're here to split the left. Because if they really cared about fucking stopping a nuclear war, they would just care about stopping a nuclear war. But they care more about woke politics than they do about stopping a fucking nuclear war, which is why they're highly ineffective at stopping war.
And what's crazy to me is, like, it's not just some small event. I mean, you've got Chris Hedges, Ron Paul, Dennis Kucinich, Tulsi Gabbard.
You should be doing backflips that Ron Paul is going to be there speaking. He has a lot of people who follow him, more people against the war. This isn't about anything else except the fucking war. And if you can't join with anybody to stop a war, you're not really anti-war. You're actually a tool of the war machine.
Can I don't want to these fools anymore.
Yeah.
No, that's
I
fine.
was gonna say, I mean, yeah.
I can't. First of all, Jackson Hinkle is not even anti-war. So all this conversation with
he's garbage.
Who literally is posting consistently about how much he's behind, like, killing
Russia.
off all the Ukrainians. Like,
Yeah.
I can't even understand why we're having this conversation. Two,
No.
I just
what
look at
Jimmy
it going.
says about Staten Island is utter bullshit. He doesn't even understand what he's talking about. He's probably never stepped foot in Staten Island. There are so many Black people that work in those warehouses at Amazon on Staten Island, because guess what? There's a lot of Black people who live in Staten Island too. This idea that Chris Smalls was solely working with white workers is just asinine. And I know this for a fact. You know why? Because I was out there handing shit out at Amazon. So I know that there's a bunch of Black people who work there. In addition to that, if he really thinks that Chris Smalls, and listen, Chris Smalls can call me out if I'm wrong about this. If he thinks that Chris Smalls was standing around with any white person who was making fun of Black people and acting super racist, and he was talking to them anyway and pretending like they weren't acting like racist, it's fucking nonsense. Nonsense. No one does that. That is not how organizing works. Organizing is not about, I'm going to pretend that you're not I'm going to pretend you're not acting like an asshole right now, and we're just going to organize and move forward anyway. Organizing is getting people to understand that in order to meet this thing, this goal that we need to meet, you need to let go of your dumb shit so we can work together and get something done. That is what organizing is. Organizing unions is about creating solidarity and getting people to look past the things that have previously allowed them to divide themselves from other people simply for some shit that don't even really exist. So this whole thing, I've heard Jimmy say that spiel all the time. Oh, you gotta let in the Trumpers, you gotta let in the Boogaloo Boys, you gotta let in the Proud Boys. No, you don't. You're not gonna do none of that shit. You can talk to all of those people and have real life conversations about why what they think is real is not actually real, and why their belief that those things are real are the problem in organizing. And you can get them to let all of that stuff go so they can be part of a real multicultural, multi-working coalition, and that is what will make it work. This nonsense is pretending that people can just ignore bigotry, ignore racism, ignore misogyny, ignore transphobic behavior, ignore homophobic behavior. That's not organizing. That's sticking a whole bunch of people in the room and waiting to see who's going to turn on who first. That is not organizing.
Well, and I think it's ironic that they're just like laughing this whole thing off and pretending that in December 2021, MPP was not trying to push for Jimmy Dore to be president. And I wonder where all the money for this war is going to go. This war rally is going to go. Because to be honest, internally, they've been pushing for Dore to be president since December 2021. And there's a group of elderly white individuals that are obsessed with Jimmy Dore. I would say one has a crush on him, to be honest. That's Laura. Laura loves him. Oh, she does. Like, she crushes on him. And they internally were pushing and pushing and pushing that only a white male can run for president. When we were talking about other candidates to possibly push for 2024 and all these kind of things, Jimmy Dore's name is they were just pushing for him. And so I think that there's a little bit of stupidity on his part for people not to realize that, like, yeah, I wonder where the money for this thing is going. Of course you're going to push it because MPP wants you to run for president. And I know that lots of people on Twitter like you, but nobody else knows the hell who you are. So where's that money going to go anyway? It's ridiculous. It's a marketing campaign. And to be honest, as a marketer myself, because that's what I do, communications, it's a brilliant marketing campaign. But stop pretending that if a leftist is like, hell no, I'm not going to go to a Nazi rally, that like we're not leftists.
But even like the whole, like, it's going to be a great time. Dude, it's supposed to be an anti-war rally. What great time? Like, what is this fantastic show?
Nick is going to get arrested. I guarantee Nick will get arrested because he loves getting arrested. In fact, when they did the, the thing in front of the Capitol steps, Nick was giddy about getting arrested ahead of getting arrested. And I was the one that had to edit that video because at that time I had just been hired that week and I had no idea what was going on because the place is it's a shit fest how they run the place. And I'm like, they hired me as communication directors with no instruction. And so I had to be the one that edited the video of him getting arrested. And he was so smug and full of himself. I had to cut like 3/4 of the video out and just keep the part where he got arrested because he was so full of himself. It was super obvious that he was just doing it for a publicity stunt. So guaranteed, at least a couple of people will get arrested, probably white people that'll be out the same day. Like, and as we said before off camera, there's no skin in the game. These are not people that are on the ground like suffering if they're not, you know. And anyway, I'm sorry, I'm just a little, yeah.
No, that's fine. I mean, I'm sitting there, and I apologize for putting everyone through that. It's just this whole thing of I love showing when they show their own cards, when they show how incompetent and how not brilliant you are. You're telling me that you're the everyman. You're the everyman. You're just a lowly comedian that's working for the everyman. I don't know any everyman that flies from Washington, D.C. to Florida to L.A., back to Washington, D.C., back to L.A. Who the fuck has that money, especially now with the cost of travel? That you can fly here, there, and everywhere. And
but don't dare point out that Jimmy's a boss. Like, well, he's the boss,
and he's a really bad boss too.
He's a bad boss
that
doesn't like his employees being able to speak out or to have any sort of rights and freedoms. He talks a lot about
manager class.
I don't know much about the whole contractual thing. I do know NDAs can sometimes, depending on which, like, you know, where you work and all those things, they're important. Yeah. I'm not going to question like who has to do what. My point with whenever I have that conversation is if you are a person who is behaving like a boss, then you are not the working guy. You're the boss. So let's just be clear on who's the boss and who's the worker, right? And let's not conflate the two things because they don't, like, you can't be on the same side. You cannot be a boss and the working guy at the same time because you just can't. No. So, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, well, he's allowed. Of course, he's allowed to do whatever he wants. It's his company. He's the boss. Right. That's how it works when you're the boss, right? But then don't turn around and tell me, oh, but he's speaking for all working people. How he's speaking for all working people? He's not a working person. He's the boss.
Right. Yeah. The manager class, as they like to call it. He's manager class.
The speaking out against capitalism. I'm like, fuck, dude, how many fucking super chats and whatever other bullshit do you get on your YouTube channel that isn't fucking...
He is making tens of thousands of dollars a month. He is not guaranteed struggling. That man, and listen, God bless, he had his medical thing and he understands what it's like to have medical issues and the stuff that come, but he don't have that problem no more. That is not his issue. He can pay for whatever he needs to pay for. He is not going to be worried about that because people are always going to give him money because they are convinced that he's speaking for them, right? And people need to learn to speak for themselves. I don't need him to tell people what my struggle is because he don't know what my struggle is. Just like he thinks he knows what's going on in Staten Island. How? I didn't see him out there. So how he knows what's going on in Staten Island? I'm in Staten Island a lot. Are there a lot of white people in Staten Island? Yeah. Are there a lot of Trump voters out there? Yeah. But are there also a lot of black people? Yeah. Yeah. There are actually. It's New York. Like,
right. Exactly.
What are we talking about right now?
Well, it's this whole thing of like my biggest issue, and it's with a number of bigger independent platforms. So number one, you shouldn't be independent. Like independent should be someone like us that are doing this independently, not doing it under a banner of a group or that has gotten funding or that is making X amount of dollars. You're getting poor people to send you fucking money to better their lives. Well, their lives aren't going to get better by you fucking taking their last $5 for you to give them a shout out on your fucking podcast. That doesn't fucking help anyone. When we're sitting there and we've got, and I'm going to be honest here. I fucking created some merchandise for JB because I felt for the man. I fucking cried when I created the merchandise for him because I felt for him. I fucking hurt when he told me that he was going to be evicted. There's potential being evicted because their property management was raising their rent, and his mother, who's in her 70s, is working because he can't physically. And I started this thing and I'm like, fuck, hey, Jimmy Dore, hey, all you fucking people with these big platforms, I'm donating all net profits from this shit. Like, I'm not making a fucking dime because I'm helping this person out, and our stuff is made ethically and our stuff is made we're fucking not exploiting anyone to make this stuff. We came up with a design. It was kind people are my kind of people. Like, it was a good thing. Not one of those motherfuckers shared a damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going, then suddenly they do their own thing and they raise $5,000. I'm like, you could have fucking raised that 6 months prior. Why the fuck is that black man struggling? Because you fucking bastards are too egotistical to fucking join something that isn't going to be promoting your brand.
Well, I mean, one of the things I was thinking about when you were talking about exploiting poor people specifically, when I was at MPP, I did an analysis of their main audience or whatever. So the main audience at that time, which would have been in 2021, was white women over the age of 65 and white men pretty much over the age of 45. They had no Gen Z, no millennials, no surprise, because I guess if you're against wokeism and feminism and you hate black people and LGBTQ and Latinos, you're not going to get millennials and you're not going to get Gen Z. So no matter how many rallies you throw. But one of the things that I know somebody that we were working with was upset about was that, you know, they knew that there were people that were elderly that were being exploited because they were giving their money to People's Party. And literally it was being shitted away. Like, the money disappears. And they because they just spent it on stuff that there was nothing came out of it, you know? A lot of wasted time, a lot of wasted money. And what I don't like is that, you know, once again, we're exploiting people that maybe they really want, you know, I mean, who wants war anyway? And I agree with Renee, this war is a proxy war. I would much rather, I put in a tweet today, I'd much rather our National Guard free all the Latino kids that are stuck right now in our own freaking prison camps than we spend money to Ukraine or Russia or whatever the nonsense is going on. Because the only people that are profiting are the defense contractors that sponsor both parties. So there I am. I'm anti-war, anti-capitalist, anti-war. It's out there. Okay. So stop pretending that I work for the CIA as if they'll take somebody with back and neck injuries and PTSD. So anyway, but what I'm saying is that there's an exploitation being done here. There are people that are desperate, that they need change, they need help, and they're falling for this. And the alt-right specifically is really, really, really targeting young white men that feel like they're being victimized or that women don't want to sleep with them. And I'm just going to say that because that's really what's going on, is that women are like, I'm not interested. You're for rape. Hey, I'm not for that. So sorry. And so they're really doing that. I mean, right now, I think there was a recent article, one of the young men that were involved in the Charlottesville thing committed suicide.
Yeah.
And he wasn't that old.
No, he was,
I don't know his
going
situation.
up for drug charges after.
Yeah.
So he
committed suicide. And I'm just saying that, like, you know, people don't realize, like, it's insidious. And like you said, it's very cultish. And the fact that these rich white guys are like, if you're not for me, you're an infiltrator, just sounds so asinine and stupid and privileged. Like, no, it's because we can see you for being what you are. You're a rich white guy who doesn't have any skin in the game. So it's just one of those things.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, when I put out the TikTok video, because our oldest, and I mean both our kids, the way my youngest is talking to us about feelings for girls, and she talked to my wife and it's like, don't tell daddy, and I'm like, well, what isn't she telling me? Like, she likes a boy because I'll beat the boy's ass. Yes, of course. But you like a girl? Awesome. Hey, we're doing a good thing. But no, it's an open communication in regards of my children know. Like, my oldest was scared because I mean, look at me. I look like that right-wing lunatic. Like, I know it. I look like a narc. I look like a cop. I've got the view of that guy who Trump wants to bring in. But when they hear me speak, they're going, oh shit, I'm like the unicorn because I'm so anti that, but I look like you and I'm not on this side. Like, I'm so far left of whatever left is. But it becomes to the safety factor. And I don't want, like, Renee, if you went to that fucking rally or if any of you went to the rally, I don't want anyone to be fucking hurt. And I know damn well that the system is designed to take out people that are at risk. So you can tell me, oh, we have an ideological discussion on politics. Fuck you. I hate all politicians. All politicians are awful. Like, there's no good politician. I haven't found. If you find one, I'm sorry. Some of the Green Party politicians are okay.
Shama Sawant's great. Although she's
I was gonna say she's pretty good. Yeah,
Shama's not quite a
like
politician yet. And
no, she is. She is a city councilwoman.
Well,
now,
sorry. Yes, she's a very good.
Again, but she is
in Seattle, but
socialist politician. Absolutely.
I have some issues with the socialist alternative in Canada. I don't know what it's. We'll have to have off camera conversation about what it's like in the States. But in Canada, because we already have a alternative to the two main parties, they're not interested in starting another party. They're interested in selling newspapers and some other shit. And I'm going, that's not what I want. I want to fucking figure out, how do we create that Bolshevik revolution that happened? How do we recreate that, where we redistribute the wealth to society and we knock out the classes and everyone has something? Like, where's that party? If that's the political structure, how do we rebuild that? So when I'm talking and we're having conversations and you want me to do these essays, and I'm like, fuck, I've been out of school for 25 years. I'm not fucking doing an essay on what life was like for this socialist or this fucking Marxist. I don't care. I read books when I want to read books. And some of the books, it's all about perception. It's not about what the fuck's in the books, like the Bible. The Bible's about what you perceive is in it. If you take everything verbatim, fuck, everyone will be dead, because we all created sins and we all disobeyed whatever bullshit was in the original writing. But it's all perception. If we're looking at it from a spiritual side, I want to get rid of this fake Jesus. Whoever fucking faux Jesus is, get rid of the fucking thing that this right wing is presenting and bring back people that are actually acting like Jesus. Like, Jesus was turning tables on people that were being oppressed, or on the oppressors for the people that were being oppressed. Jesus would go and kick the shit out of Biden right now if he was on Earth. Like, come on. Like, he's the whole concept of that religious aspect is the fact he was taking care of the people that need to be taken care of. So that's where, if you want to go Christianity and you want to go religious with me, we can talk about that. We can talk about doing the work of Jesus as opposed to fucking promoting the words of some fucking old ass book that should just be closed and not opened again, because it's not supporting everything. Very similar to this anti-war rally, that it's not supporting everything, it's just supporting the privilege, because the privilege are going to walk out of this thing with what they're going to walk out. Okay, little bit of negative publicity, possibly. That's it. Any of the people that have got all the skin in the game, that are going to go there because they don't want a war, they don't want to have World War III, but they're from a member of the global majority, they're a member of the 2S LGBT community, they're going to be attacked. They're either going to be attacked by the fucking alt members that are there, or they're going to be attacked by the police that are there to stop any sort of organization.
It could just be emotional harm that's done when you're standing around listening to people who are not actually anti-war, but they're anti everything else. Like, you know, one of my biggest issues with all of these organizing matters is this idea that, like, oh, you're divisive over these differences. Dude, my humanity is not a difference, right? My ability to live free and to do the things that everyone else is able to do, who does not look like this, right, is not a difference of opinion. We're not talking about, you know, you liking chocolate and me liking vanilla. We're not, you know, they brought up like social, you know, people are going to keep Social Security and all these things. That's like that is a political ideology difference that, of course, that can be over.
I don't even think anybody brought that up.
Oh, well,
like,
because
that came out of nowhere.
He doesn't want to bring up the fact that these people are racist. He doesn't want to bring up the fact that they're homophobics. Now, Jack and Hinkle brought it up because is a dum-dum, and you know, he is quick to point these things out because literally calling out organizations and saying like, oh, you care about, you know, gay people and you don't care about World War III, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But like, I don't want to stop war to get killed later by these people, right? This is not helpful to the situation. And any organizational movement that is going to try to move forward on any matter that is not going to include ensuring that everyone has the right to live, what are you fighting for exactly?
No.
Like, you're fighting against your one issue, but you don't care if the people survive at, like, okay, you stop war. And then what happens when they turn on me? What
And that's the thing. It's about the power of the privilege. And this is what people aren't going to. This, when you're looking at people of especially white privilege that are going there, or people that are suffering from internalized white supremacy, that they're just going to keep perpetuating the system. That's all they want to do. They want to control the power. I mean, look at Nazi Germany as an example. Everyone goes, oh, we were talking about Nazis, we're talking about fascism. Okay. So Hitler, what good things did Hitler do? Hitler had a strong economy. I know this is so anti everything. The economy in Germany was strong. Why was the economy in Germany strong? Because he killed fucking people. He murdered anyone that was no use of him. And then decided, well, we need to ensure the white race survives, so we're going to eliminate these people too. And what started out as, okay, you're disabled, you're not of any sort of working ability, so everyone works, you can't work, we don't have a use for you. I mean, we have that right now in society. Like here in Canada, we have MAID. So right now there's a 42-year-old woman who is going to kill herself because she can't afford to live. There's people, because of poverty here in Canada, in the good old Great White North, that is supposed to be socialist and all this lies and deceit. I mean, we can go, that's a different story. A Black History on Amazon is great. Sorry, Renee, on Prime, was done by a Black producer, and it is amazing. I had no idea of the indigenous and the Black populations that started in the Maritimes, and how there was actually a group of warriors from Africa that fought their way back because they didn't want to be here, sort of thing. Like, there's all these stories that have been, because we lived in a whitewashed society. So
right. There's a lot of information that's missing. And, you know, people like to bring up, you know, they talk about Nazi Germany, and there's so much information that people don't understand. Like, people don't understand that they went to Africa first. Right. And they killed a lot of Africans because they wanted to test out and see what they could get away with. Right.
Yeah.
They sought information from the US and the Jim Crow laws to figure out how they can put things in place to try and really start separating the population. So whenever people talk about, you know, this is not about Nazis, and, you know, then people bring up, well, you know, it's a good thing that we went to World War II to stop the Nazis, and you're talking about the Nazis. And I'm like, fool, that is not why we went to World War II.
No.
We helped create the Nazis. So let's not pretend like that's what we went over there for. People are really so clueless about the history of this country and the history of imperialism and the history of how these nations get their strength and their power, and they're based their entire economic system on destroying other countries and other nations and putting, you know, these people in place so that they can maintain their control over whatever resources they want to steal from that environment. It is a total, like, you're just totally missing the point.
Yeah.
If you think that my biggest problem with an anti-war rally is because Jimmy Dore is speaking. Jimmy Dore is a moron. I don't pay attention to that man. He don't listen. Look,
sorry, I set you up
even
for
a
it.
broken clock is right twice a day, right? So Does he get some stuff right? Of course he gets some stuff right, because it's not that hard to get some stuff right, right? Like, it's not rocket science to pick the thing that makes the most sense and say it out loud. But what people don't understand is you can't take all of your information that you are basing everything that you think you know about this world on a YouTube channel. That doesn't even make sense. Like, go to the library, go read a book, go go dig some stuff up, because there is a lot of information that is not being shared, that is not being told. And people get very excited when they learn like this small little tidbit, and then they don't take the time to research. I am so neurotic. Like, the minute somebody tells me something, the first thing I do is go find the information for myself so I can dig in and figure out, well, where's the background on this? What's the other information that's coming? What else is important that's part of the situation that people are not talking about, that people don't know about? Everybody's all excited about, the AP course in African American studies that's happening. Nobody's paying attention to how they gutted it because they wanted to make nice with Florida, of all places. So, like the governor of New Jersey, announced that, oh, we're gonna allow this course to happen in all our schools. And nobody's talking about the fact that it got gutted. So if you're pulling all of the strongest voices out of the history and you're making sure that those things are now optional, like bell hooks is optional, talking about intersectionality is optional, but we're going to make sure we talk about the conservatives. Like, come on, man, get out of here with that. Like, that's not a course that's truly going to build respect for the Black community and teach students who need to understand how deeply racist this place is and how deeply systemic racism affects everything. Like, what are we doing right now? I'm so sick of everybody pretending like these YouTube personalities are the people who are going to be like the key to life. The key to life is paying attention. That's the key to life. Pay attention. Be good to other people. Give a shit about somebody else's humanity. Pay attention to the things that other people need. Just because you have insurance, that doesn't mean you don't give a shit when somebody else doesn't have insurance. Like, don't be a selfish asshole. Like, these are simple things in life that people can do that could actually make the world go round a little bit, right? And nobody's doing them because everybody's worried about themselves. Everybody wants to make sure they make that money. And listen, I get it, right? I have a job. I'm not going to tell somebody, like, don't do what you need to do to make your coin and to pay your bills and to do whatever it is that you need to do in your life to be comfortable and to be happy. But let's not pretend that you are not selling things, right? You are selling something when you have a YouTube channel. And that's okay. Like, that's what you're doing. That's what you chose to do to make money. But let's not pretend like you're the beacon of truth, like you're the revolutionary voice, like you're, all these things that you're not, because in the end, you just want to make money. And that's okay. Just admit that. Like, I'm okay with that. People have to make money. It's okay. Like, just say it.
To say, if you people wanted me to make money, you can subscribe. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I was gonna say too, I think that one of the things that, if we want to talk about solutions and some of the things that are happening on the ground, I think right now what we should be paying attention to is the labor movement. And it's not just here, it's globally. And I think that one of the things that I've been trying to talk to people about is just, it's getting people scared that are, in Wall Street, that are in government, that, the fact that, there is a great resignation or quiet quitting or a job shortage or, and people are talking about a general strike, which is why we need to get mutual aid up and running so we can actually afford to do that. But people are saying, especially Gen Z and younger millennials are saying, forget it. We're not going to be part of this capitalist system. We're not going to join your army. The army's having problems recruiting because guess what? Gen Z doesn't want to die. That's actually the number one reason when they did a poll. They don't want to die. Really? People don't want to die? And it's just one of those things that I feel like you're saying, Renee, to go ahead and just listen, to pay attention, to see where the movement's happening. The movement is happening, and it's happening internationally more than it's happening here because I think we are distracted. And I think that realizing that the Twitterverse and the YouTubeverse are a microcosm of a microcosm of a microcosm. And the fact that half those people have people following them that are not even in the United States or are not even real people or have multiple accounts, that essentially it's not a movement. If Jimmy Dore and Hinkle and MPP and all those people just dropped off the face of the earth, the movement would keep going because they have absolutely nothing to do with the real movement. The real people working don't have time to manage a Twitter account and play on YouTube and, sit in their mom's basement with a microphone. Like, they just don't have that time. Especially to the extent that some of these people do, especially since most of these people come from, they're either very, very privileged or they have white privilege or both. And so, it's one of those things that I feel like we need to kind of take our focus away from these crazy people in this this right-wing war rally, which is what it is, and essentially focus on the real work. And the real work is unions, labor, mutual aid, and like you said, helping our communities on a local level, because these communities are suffering and the only people who are going to help us are helping ourselves. And that's the truth of the matter. There is a movement. It's just not on YouTube.
And that whole thing is we have to, just an aside on that, when we're looking at doing these sort of programs at a local level, we also have to ensure, and this probably get me shut off of YouTube, that you take COVID precautions, because COVID has not fucking just gone away because Sleepy Joe decided he's not going to wear a mask and he's going to get COVID 14 fucking times. It is still there. It is airborne. It is prevalent. I've had COVID. It sucks ass. And I didn't even have bad COVID. Like, I had COVID with like massive fevers. But it was like a week of COVID. But I had comorbidities prior. So did my wife. And we're scared of what long COVID is. And
I've had long COVID for over a year. And I spent 8 months last year in bed.
And this is the thing that people don't want. And there's people here in Alberta that have had long COVID or that are suffering from long COVID, but they keep perpetuating the bullshit narrative of the privileged. Like, if people are struggling, we need to help the struggling. We need to fucking ensure that we have a proper medical system in place, a proper monetary system in place. Like, this whole thing of, and this is where your so-called business experts and all these people on Wall Street or whatever are dumb as fucking rocks. Because the fact is, if you have a strong economy, I can't come on here and talk because I'm going to have to be working, because it's one of those things. That's, if we have a strong economy, less people are on YouTube. Less people are being woke, as these white people are all worried about.
Right. And I gotta make, the little one's about to go to bed, so I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We're gonna wrap her up shortly.
But I just, I think it's important for people to really acknowledge and understand that, like, what you do in these social spaces, like, my goal in these social spaces is just to share information, right? Like, the only thing that I really have an interest in is if I gain knowledge about something and it's something that I feel like is worthwhile sharing with people, then I share it so that people can have that additional information. There's nothing in my mind that thinks that I'm going to change the world because I'm on Twitter, right? Like, that's just asinine to think that that's the way to go. But what you can do is maybe you can point something out to somebody that they didn't know about before. You can share a little bit of information and you hope that person takes that out into the real world, right? Like, I follow Ole, who, girl crushing, love her.
Is amazing.
But she just shared that there's this whole like court watch thing that she shared information on, that now I'm like, like, maybe I can do that. So I shared that information so people can have that information if it's something that they actually want to go out into the real world and do, right? Like, the goal here is not to spend all day like fighting with people on Twitter. And I get caught up, I'm not gonna lie. I find myself every now and again, like, you start with the arguing on Twitter and you start going back and forth. And then I remember that these people are behind a screen. And like, they're not like, this is not actually going to be useful to anybody. But, if I go on, there was another train that overturned, like, in
Michigan,
outside of Detroit today, right? Yeah. Like, another train. Right, exactly. So like you share that information so people
Right.
can see it. In Mississippi, the cops decided that they were going to kidnap 2 Black men because they were dating white women, and that they were
I
going to
saw that.
record them and shoot one in the face. Like, this is
Yeah.
information that you
Yeah.
want people to have access to, because it's not stuff that MSM is talking about. They're not doing
No.
this on major media. They're
Well,
not
there was another
having
shooting in El Paso, and it's like it never happened.
like it
Yeah.
never happened, right?
The mall
So there are
shooting.
all these things that are happening, and
Yeah.
it's unfortunate that there is no way to get to the masses, right? Because
Yeah.
the masses are watching MSNBC and they're watching
Right.
CNN, and they're only getting that little bit of information that MSN is allowed
Yeah.
to get from the government and to spread.
Mm-hmm.
But people they need to turn off their computers and they need to go outside. And Socialist Alternative, I'll just say, like, just since I'm wearing my shirt.
Love it.
The goal is not a political organization. The goal is to work on class consciousness. The goal is to give information and to have conversations and to get people to understand what happened in the past and how you can kind of build class consciousness by making sure that people are aware of the history and where those fights came in and how the working people work together and all those things that happen. It ain't for everybody though, right? Like, a lot of people don't have time to sit around and read full articles and have an hour-long discourse on like what happened in 1960, whatever. Like, that's not the move for everybody. And so I encourage people to find a thing that is going to allow you to participate in your own community, right? Like, that's how you change things. People are worried so much about the federal and the Senate and the Congress and the president and all these things, and you're ignoring who's on your school board. Like, pay attention to the things that are going on in your locality, because those are the things that are going to be able to actually change your material conditions where you live. That's the thing that's going to make a difference. And I think it's important that people stop like pretending that these big flashy things that are happening with a bunch of people that really don't give a shit what happens to regular people, like that is not where the move is going to be. Like, you can participate, but just know that your job really needs to be to go back into your community and to talk to the people who live around you and to create that discourse and to have those conversations and to talk about mutual aid and to figure out how you can help the person who lives down the street who can't afford their rent. Like, those are the things that need to happen.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think too, like, that, one of the things that people keep accusing those of us that are like not for the war rally is that, oh, well, you don't want to talk to the other people. And I'm like, okay, you're Black, I'm Latina. Like, we can't live in this society without talking to people that hate us. Like, it's just part of everyday life. Like, when I know people that are like, oh, well, I don't talk to racists, I'm like, oh, well, you must be white then, because everybody else has to survive with people that
are racist.
Like, don't care about. Like, I mean, I don't know, like, I'm light skinned and partially because I'm in Buffalo, I'm very light skinned right now. And recently I posted on Facebook something about me being a woman of color and how I had been in a couple of meetings that like a couple weeks ago, and it was just, I was the only ethnic person there, and trying, when you have a group of white women trying to talk about diversity and shutting up the one Latina, it's a little much, And so I posted that, as a woman of color, I just kind of remembered how hard it is to talk and be vocal in white spaces. And I had a few people that I know that are older white ladies that were really upset that I mentioned that. And that, they never thought of me as a woman of color and that blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, these weird conversations where they're trying to, like, I guess, justify how they feel, like the uncomfortableness that came out of that conversation, as if like them not seeing race, like that erases an entire part of my identity by saying that I'm not Latina, right? Like that erases. Yeah, exactly. And the fact that they were like, well, I didn't know you were so political. I'm like, I'm Cuban. I was born political. Like, it's not, so it's very frustrating. And I think that, it's not that we don't want to talk to those people. We talk to those people every day. We have to. Like, I have relationships with people of all walks of life. Like, it's in real life, not Twitter life, real life. So by accusing me of being a CIA operative, or you don't want to talk to MAGA, or, or I only care about feminism. Actually, specifically, I care about rape because that's violence. And if you're pro-rape, you're not anti-war, because war is violence.
You're pro-violent. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm like, and I'm sorry when, I mean, we're not going to talk about that whole conversation, but I'm sorry. It's not feminism. That is such a whitewashed term. That's not what it is. It's violence. We're
One of my-
anti-violence,
One
anti-war.
of my favorite lines is there's so much common and not enough sense. So we got a lot of common and no sense.
Yeah.
And if we could get that to go together, holy shit, we would have a better society. But Renee, I know you've got your little one to put to bed. Sabrina, you've got.
I had one interrupt me too. Yeah.
I got a furry one that's probably going to start barking soon. So thank you, ladies, for joining me. A great conversation.
It was good to be here.
Was there anything you wanted to promote before you go?
Support unions. I'm just gonna say that because I also am not a person that's like, ooh, I've got Twitter. I don't have a YouTube. I don't have a podcast. I don't have anything. I'm just a mom. Yeah. I'm a really loud mom.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, if people want to follow, that's fine. Really and truly, like, I want people to be cognizant of the things that are actually giving real information. So, like, you know, I'll plug that new podcast, the Alphabet Boys, because so far it's excellent. I'll plug Cerise Castle's podcast on the LAPD sheriff's gangs because that was excellent. I'll plug Miss Orland because she's it and she posts a lot of really useful stuff.
Yeah.
I watch Black Power Media, you know, follow BAP, Black Agenda Report. I don't have anything that's mine. I work in a school. I
know. I'm like, I write articles for a living. Like I don't.
Yeah. But
and I take care of my kids. And
I encourage people to just find truth. That's what we'll say. Find truth because that's what's going to get us.
I hope that we were able to find some truth tonight. So I do promote things because, like I said, I was targeted by the provincial government here. So to get any work locally is not happening. No one wants to hear someone who's anti-capitalist. So they or someone who actually speaks the truth. Everyone wants the person who speaks truth to power until they have to work with the person who speaks truth to power. Then they don't want that person anymore because that person will question shit. So the only thing I will tell people is to go to my coffee. I'm just going to share the screen here because I'm very proud of this. We adopted our rescue dog, Curry, and he's a beautiful boy. And I made all Currys are beautiful coffee mug. And we're going to do a fundraiser for the local rescue next month. I've got my coffee mug and we got shirts and hoodies and stuff on order, but all Currys are beautiful. Remember, ACAB and rescue dogs, and everything is golden that way. So very proud of the boy, and he's a work in progress. And like I said, if you love animals, all Currys are beautiful, and it will look good in the school, look good, the shirts and hoodies, all those things, because all Currys are beautiful, and that will be perfect for Los Angeles and New York and Chicago and all these different places that need to know about this beautiful dog Curry. So
and I did want to say I was going to say I did forget. There is one group that I'm a part of that I definitely encourage. 10 Demands for Abolition, and they're at 10 Demands on Twitter, and it's an abolitionist group. And we also have a free abolitionist community guide and everything, so people can push abolition locally.
And stop Cop City.
Yes, awesome. And stop. Yes, hashtag Stop Cop City. Yes. So sorry, I didn't mean to. See, I just thought about it with the ACAB. I was like, oh yeah.
I would put that Stop Cop City on there, but then that might cause some people to actually look into what all Currys are beautiful stands for. So we will make it sure that it's for rescue dogs only, and people need to understand that we're about rescue dogs here at
thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yes,
guys.
Thank you very much.
Have
this
a
was
great
fun.
Evening.
Bye.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Night. And thanks everyone for joining. We will be back next week talking more truth. Until then, get out in the community, do what you can, be a good person, and take care of yourself.